because I know that some of you, for me, it gets on my nerves sometimes just because it happens. But also just know that this is being recorded. But I love seeing your ideas. And so what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to enable for you to unmute yourself. And I'm going to ask for some volunteers to share what they saw, the how many. And thank you for those of you who put in your equations as well. Those were fantastic. But give me a second here, and I will allow you all to unmute. And if you're willing to share, please raise a hand. Hope, I think I see yours. So let me allow Mike for you. And allow Mike. Here we go. All right, Hope. What do you see? You should be able to. Oh, you are able to unmute, but now you have to unmute yourself. Hopefully that'll work. Technology. We have to be very patient with each other, right? Nope. Yes. Oh, maybe you're chatting. I bet you're chatting. Let's see. Did she chat something? I have my assistant here. Oh, man. Oh, okay. All right. Only select can unmute. Yes. No, I know. I let Hope unmute. Nope, won't let me unmute. Okay, well, let's try something else. We'll try just for a little bit. If it's not working, then we'll probably skip this part, which is okay. And allow Mike for attendees. Hopefully that'll work. Allow mics. Let's see here. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Hello.
Yeah. Okay. Tell us, Hope. How many do you see?
Well, I did an equation and then I corrected it because I originally said 8x equals 16 rectangles, but then I forgot to count the big rectangle, so I said 8x plus 1 equals 17 rectangles.
Oh, interesting. So you did your first one was 8x times equals 16.
Mm-hmm.
And then you did 8x plus 1 equals 17, actually. So can you explain your equation a little bit? Where did the 8 come from? Where did the 16 come from?
Yeah, so I counted up the rectangles, unless I'm about to embarrass myself and counted wrong.
No, you're good. Where did you start? Top left?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did. Yeah. So I went across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then went down. 1, 2, 3, 4. And so to do a simple equation, I just did 8 times what would be 16. Then I realized that the overall amount of rectangles is actually 17 if you count the entire picture. So that's where the plus 1 came in.
Got it. Okay. All right. Thank you so much. That's great. I appreciate it. Thank you, Hope. Did anybody see anybody at Keith? I think I see you. Your hand is up. Go ahead, Keith. What did you see?
Hi. So when I do these kinds of things, for me, it's important for me to figure out what we're counting because I feel like I really want to know what the units are. Yeah. So I was like, are we figuring out the little triangle-y bits? Are we looking at the negative space? Are we looking at the whole unit? So for me, that's the first conversation I would have to figure out what we're talking about. And then, because I know if I just shoot off in one direction, I'm going to make a mistake. I want to figure out what we're dealing with here. So that's what I would do.
Okay, I hear you. And you know, this activity is purposely vague in order for kids to kind of make up their own mind of the how many, right? So Hope just said 17 rectangles, and I'm sure somebody might argue, oh, there's actually 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 if you count the rectangles that make up this space as well, right? But there's no wrong answer. You could also, some of you in the equations wrote triangles. We're counting the triangles. Would anyone be willing to tell us the triangle, how many they saw? And kind of walk us through. I know, it's hot.
There's 48 if I count right.
Okay, Richard, right, Richard? You said 48. Yeah. How did you get 48?
Well, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in each rectangle, and there's 8 of those. 6 times 8 is 48, I still remember.
Hey, yeah, totally, of course. So 6 times 8. So counting the rectangles was how you saw it. Were any of you kind of like didn't even see the triangles? Or did some of you maybe not even see the rectangles or the triangles?
I didn't see the triangles till after I counted the rectangles.
Yeah, the rectangles kind of like jump out at you, right? Did anybody see anything else? So we have 16, we have 48. Anybody have a different number? I think we have time for one more volunteer. And anybody in the chat saying anything, Anna?
I was looking at the right angles, and I'm still counting. So.
Ooh, the right angles. I didn't even think about that.
So
awesome.
I'm working on it. So I'm up to 70, 80. I'm up to 80 right angles, but there's more. Man.
I feel like we're gonna have to come back to you to get how many you got. That's awesome.
There are so many right angles. It's amazing.
There are.
I also want to point out. Can I point out something? That, like, you know, we see how the triangles make rectangles, but the rectangles make more rectangles.
Ooh.
And so like 2 rectangles will make a rectangle, 3 rectangles make a square, 4 rectangles make another rectangle. So like the number of rectangles could be, who knows? I mean, I couldn't figure it out that quickly.
Yeah, there are definitely a lot of rectangles. If we could spend a long time thinking about how many we see, right? So yeah. I'm gonna pause this here, and I'm gonna disable your mics again. So apologies, but your mics will go away. And disable mics. So again, this is actually an activity from the Math for Love curriculum that is very, like I said, very vague, purposely vague, because there's a lot of points of entry for this task. And it's kids truly love thinking about this, and adults love thinking about this. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you were like, wait, I didn't even think about that. Wait, what? And like, I think you can take it so many ways. And I think those kids that are super curious about, well, what do you mean the how? What are you talking about? Are you talking about the triangles? What are you talking about? And it's like, yes. Are you talking about the rectangles? Yes. Are you talking about how many cracks you see in a table? Yes. Are you talking about how many colors? Yes. Like, I think it just allows kids to just be really open about their thinking, which is fantastic. So I'm going to move us on a little bit here. All right. So quick reminder, this PowerPoint and the recording of this PD will be available on Schoology shortly after this PD. So hopefully within 2 or 3 hours, I'll put it up there and I'll show you where that's going to be on Schoology as well. So also we have put the PowerPoint. We're trying to put it in there.
It was, but now my attachment button's
Okay. So my buddy here is working on the attachment, but for some reason it's not attaching onto Teams, but it'll be on Schoology as well. So no worries there. All right, so before I introduce myself, I want to talk about Dan Finkel and Catherine Cook, who are the creators of this curriculum. And they just had a baby. So Dan just had a baby Maple, and they had a very medically interesting birth. Which is not really what they wanted. But things are mostly okay right now. But Dan is taking some time to be with his family and is taking Math for Love as a back burner for now. So that's why he is not leading this or has been kind of like taking a back seat to a lot of this work. And so this is baby Maple right here. So super cute, super adorable. Really, we're really, really happy for them. So I am Kenneth Maldonado. I am a 4-5 math teacher at BF Day Elementary School. And I helped develop this math curriculum, kind of like put it all together, organize it. And so I have been a teacher for 10 years here in Seattle. I've been here at BF Day for 5 years. When I first started teaching, I was at South Shore for 4 years. Love me. I love South Shore and BF Day. I was also a math coach at a private school where I worked with kindergarten through 5th grade. I've also worked with the University of Washington and Chicago, actually, to teach teachers how to teach math, like brand new teachers. And so a little more personal, I am a former ELL student from 2 immigrant parents. Both my parents are from Guatemala, and I am so proud of my family and of everything that we've been able to accomplish. And I'm just really fortunate to be here, and I love math, as you can see. And so hopefully we'll have some fun today. But I couldn't do any of this without my lovely partner here, Britta Steele, who is, she helped develop the K2. And when they asked me to do this summer, I was like, in one condition, if I could have somebody to do this with. And so this is, I would not have been able to do this. She is super, super organized and has been incredible these last 3 or 4 months working on this. So thank you, Britta. She's leading the K2 alongside. We also created some videos. For those of you who did Summer Staircase last year, there were some episodes that were about like 15 to 20 minutes long. We condensed the videos this year. They're like shorter activity videos, so no longer than 10 minutes. And we had some amazing educators filming. Monica Silver, Chris Robert. You might recognize him if you've used extra math with your students in your classroom. That's him. He's super cool. And then we have Kristen Cater. You also have Megan Wan, Sarah Allen, Emily Cordova, and Kyle Jackson II. We have a variety of experiences here, from teachers who have been teaching for 5+ years, 10+ years, 15+ years, to first-year teachers who were willing to do this. So thank you so much to all of them as well. Our agenda for today, we're going to talk about the purpose of Math for Love. We'll talk about the daily schedule, the materials, we'll talk about some possible room layouts for your classrooms. We'll talk about the lesson structure, the scope and sequence. We'll talk about what a lesson looks like in the curriculum, how that might look like. We're actually going to play a game, all of you against me. We're going to play Odd Pig Out, which is a game that's in 3, 4, 5. Then I'll talk a little bit about Seesaw. We'll talk about support resources, and then we'll have some questions. And I did put in some pause points for you all to ask questions as well. Talk about some meeting guidelines. So this was talked about in the SEL meeting. So this is just a reminder. Please stay hydrated. It is ridiculously hot out there. I hope that you are somewhere warm. I'm seeing fans from some of you and seeing like hair blowing, which tells me that your fans are on. Please, well, stay muted, but your mics have been disabled, so that shouldn't be an issue. Please try to stay engaged. If you are able to, please keep your camera on. It's always great to see faces and see reactions of how this is going. So I'm sure you all know who have taught online. It's really great to see faces. So if you are able to, please do so. Please keep chat to a minimum, and obviously focus on flexibility. There's a lot of curveballs that I'm sure are going to be thrown at us and have been thrown at us in the last 2 years. And so I think we've all been really great at being flexible. All right. Okay, so our purpose. So Math for Love for students is the main thing. We want kids to have fun and grow a positive experience with math. That's the number one thing. Obviously, we want kids to practice fact fluency. We want them to practice conceptual understanding through games, exploration, and discourse. But none of this can happen if they're not having fun. And again, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. But we want to encourage that student connection as well. A lot of these kids elected to stay home the last 2 months. Some kids may have come in, but been limited in terms of their interaction. And so we want to make sure that we're encouraging that student connection with not just yourself as a teacher and an educator, but also with each other. And then our educator goals, we want to make sure that we are engaging all students. We want to make sure that students are spending most of the time actively engaged in math play and problem solving. That's the number one thing. We also want to make sure that we're differentiating. So we want to help students encounter problems, games, and activities at the right level of differentiate to create that engagement. So if a student is seemingly bored because they're having trouble with this, you'll have access to all the games from the curriculum, all the different grade levels. So you'll be able to pick and choose kind of like games from across grade levels, as well as students who might be a little bit more challenged and be like, oh, you know what, this is beyond me. And you might see, well, you know what, let's think about it this way, and maybe. You can make the numbers a little smaller to have them get some access, but make sure that kids are accessing everything. Thinking, we want to make sure that we're getting kids to start thinking about math immediately and all the time in our classrooms, and we want them to kind of get productively stuck in the math a little bit, right? I think that's. I remember a few years ago. I gave my kids a problem, and they were like thinking about it, and they came back the next day, and they're like, I was thinking about this problem at home, and I'm still not sure how to do. Like that's the kind of engagement we want, right? We want kids to be thinking about this, and we don't want to give them all the answers immediately. We want them to start thinking, well, what do you think about that, right? And then one of the biggest ones that really ties to your SEL training this morning is we want to make sure that we have a positive environment. So we want students to trust themselves, to trust you as their teacher and each other. We want to make sure that kids are okay with making mistakes, asking questions, and that can't happen if we don't spend that time. So, that SEL work is going to be huge, not just for that connection with peers, but for kids to be able to have that ability to be open with themselves and with you, and to make mistakes. That's one of the biggest things. So this is not a program that is meant to be covered completely. We want to make sure that everything is that the kids are having fun. So I'll talk about that right now, actually. So again, be ready with questions. So we want to make sure that rather than simply telling students whether their answers are correct or not, ask them, what did they do to solve the problem? Like, what did you do? Why do you think the answer works that way? And I think that allows you to see them as thinkers, and they're able to see themselves as thinkers if you are asking them how to justify their thinking. Model how to play games and teach how to win or lose. This is a curriculum that's very play-based, and there are games that can potentially be competitive. And third, fourth, and fifth graders, especially fourth and fifth graders, tend to really like competition and really like winning. So really stress that it's not necessarily just about winning. It's about thinking. It's about, hey, you might have lost, but what could you do next time to maybe have a better strategy? Or what do you think the other person did to get this score, right? So you're trying to model that for your students, and there are many ways in many of these games you can actually adapt them to be collaborative rather than competitive. And we'll talk about that in a moment when we play the game later on as well. Avoid what doesn't involve math. Get students into actual active thinking situations about math as fast as you can. So we really want to maximize that math time. So if that means that kids are really into an activity and they might stretch out into 2 or 3 days, totally do it. We have a scope and sequence for you, but that's more a suggestion. We really want kids to just really have at it with the math. Obviously have a growth mindset. Some kids might come into your classroom and be like, I'm just not good at math. It's just something that I just don't believe in. I don't believe I'm good at math. And all of you are magnificent educators who I'm sure have encountered this. And, it is our job this summer with these games. And I honestly, I have taught summer staircase 3 or 4 years now, and I love this curriculum. For those of you who have used it already, I have had kids who are super shy, and then when I pull out one of these games, they'll just like all of a sudden start raising their hand and participating and laughing and being engaging. And I think that sort of thing really builds up confidence. And so having that growth mindset is extremely important for especially those kiddos who have a really low self-confidence. Encourage conjectures and counterexamples. So a lot of these games, a kid might say something like, well, that happens all the time. And you'd be like, well, does it? What about this? Well, what about that? Have you thought about it this way? And just get the kids thinking about these questions, right? We constantly want to just bombard the kids with just tons and tons of questions. Give your students time to think and explore. And I think I mentioned this a couple points ago. This curriculum is not meant to be raced through. Like I said, if there is something that your kids are loving in the curriculum and they want to spend more time with it, do it. Like there are 19 days of material in the curriculum. If you only get to 10 of them, if you get to 11 of them, if you get to 5 of them because they've been really into it, that's totally fine. We want the kids to be totally into the math and engaging, conversing with each other and with you around all this. And then, of course, give your students the right amount of struggle. We want them to struggle a little bit. Life would be boring if we didn't struggle. So modeling that, saying, I don't know, to the kids is extremely important. So please make sure to make the kids struggle a little bit in a really positive way. It's the best thing to do. Okay, and then value play. Like I said, a lot of these, the majority, I would say like 85% of the curriculum is play-based. And you want to bring that energy. You want to have the kids have fun. And you will see, and for those of you who have done this, the games are so fun. And I feel like I say this all the time when I filmed last year, like this is one of my favorite games. It really is. And you'll see when we play Odd Pig Out, these games are super fun, very engaging. Your classrooms will not be quiet, which I think is a great thing. I've missed the joy of hearing kids play games. And so you'll experience that this summer for sure. All right, I'm going to pause there. Are there any questions before we go over? Yeah, there's 2. Yeah, all right. Remote teachers picking up math manipulatives. I believe those are going to be delivered to families specifically. And if there are students' families who haven't received it by day 1, then either your site lead or your coach will make sure that they get to the right place. But that would be more of a site lead and math coach or your coach question. Is this program built with data about the gaps over the year or for more holistic approach? It's definitely a more holistic approach. There is a pre and post assessment that will be administered at the beginning of the summer, at the end. But really, it's from my understanding of this program, it's really to build that confidence and joy in math, which I think sometimes can get lost throughout the school year. And I think we have a really unique opportunity to really just find joy in the math. And so I think you'll see that. So it's not very much data centered. It's more like, hey, are these kids more confident at the end of the year, at the end of the summer? Like, that's what I would want to see. Like, do they seem more happy? Do they see themselves as a mathematician before this, right? So at the end of this. So that would be that. All right, so I'm gonna get into the nitty gritty of some of this. And please keep putting the questions down. Anna is writing them down, and then I will get to them when I can. Okay, so this is the in-person, for those of you who are teaching kids that are going to be in front of you, daily schedule. There are 2 sections here. So on Monday, you just went over this. You'll have a SEL lesson that will take about 20 minutes, and that's the big chunk. And then every math lesson will have an opener for about 10 minutes. Then you'll have an activities and games section, and that'll look different depending on what you have available to you, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Then we have a closer for another 10 minutes, and then you have cleanup for the last 10 minutes, and then we'll have recess, and then you do the same thing in the afternoon. So you'll teach the same content essentially just twice, once in the morning and once in the afternoon. And then Tuesday through Friday, the rest of the week, the SEL lesson will just be 5 minutes. So you'll have a little bit more, you'll have much more time for the activities and games on Tuesday through Friday. So same schedule, it'll still be 10:35 recess, but again, you'll just have more space. Ooh, yes, than before. All right, so I don't want to freak anybody out, and I'm not sure if you all know this yet, but there are some teachers who will not have a tutor. There are some teachers who will not have an IA or a tutor, and so that's not something that I know. So if you have those questions, please make sure to ask your site lead what that might look like. But we do have some suggestions for you. So if you have an IA and a tutor, you could do 15-minute rotations on Monday, and that's what's highlighted right now over here on the left. And then Tuesday through Friday, you'll have 20-minute rotations. And then the kids can rotate. And we'll talk about that in a what that might look like. We'll have the adults rotate so the kids aren't moving as much. So the adults move around the classroom. That will be my suggestion for you, and I'll show you what that might look like. For teachers who just have an IA, a suggestion might be that you split your class in half and you do 20-minute rotations or 30-minute rotations through Tuesday and Friday. And you kind of split that way, and I'll show you what that might look like in a moment. And then if you're by yourself, you kind of have a couple options if you're in person, right? You could, if you feel up for it, have 3 stations and have 2 of them be on their own and you kind of oversee everything. You could also just have your classroom break up into 2 and then rotate between that. Or you could just teach 15-minute whole group sessions where you're doing all 3 activities. Where you're doing the game, the activity, and then the choice station. So you could do that. But so what that might look like here. So this is like something I came up with here. So teacher, tutor, and IA. And again, to avoid the spread of COVID, the 3 adults in the room will rotate instead of the students. And then that way they're facing the corners of the room. This is, again, a suggestion of how you could potentially lay out your room so that the kids aren't moving as much. For teacher and IA, again, you can break up the room in half. How that looks like, it's up to you. But then the IA and the teacher rotate. Or if you're by yourself and you don't have an IA or a tutor, you can just have a whole group. But again, like I said, if you're by yourself as a teacher, you could do something like this and have one of the groups be on their own. Or you could even split them up into 3 groups and have 2 of the groups be on their own. But again, that's kind of like your decision and your comfort level of what you want to do. Again, this PowerPoint will be on Schoology once we're done with this. And apologies that we couldn't put it into the chat. We just couldn't. We lost the ability to do that. And then the recording as well. All right, so remote daily schedules. For those of you who are going to be 100% remote, you'll have the SEL lesson again for 20 minutes. You'll have the same opener for 10 minutes with the whole group. Then you'll do an activity. You could do this small group or whole group, depending on your comfort level. All of the assignments, all of the games, the activities, we have created Seesaw assignments for them. So if you're comfortable with Seesaw, awesome. I'm not here to be a Seesaw trainer, so I believe is tomorrow or later today. That you'll learn how to kind of create a Seesaw account if you have not used Seesaw. I'm going to be honest, I have used Schoology solely. I don't have any experience with Seesaw, but we have created Seesaw activities. And it's Britta is a Seesaw expert, and she's made sure that all of that is working. So you should have no problem with that. That document will be on Schoology as well. And again, the schedule is very similar. And apologies, we have lights that are motion censored. Fun. Okay, and then materials. This is a question that was given earlier. My classroom, I'm actually in my classroom right now, and there's going to be a teacher who's going to be teaching here, and I can see the materials. Every student has a bin that has their reading materials and all their math materials for that grade level. It's actually amazing. It's really, really organized. They did a fantastic job in the district. Shout out to Stephanie Sheck, who did a really, really great job organizing all that. So every kid will have their own bin that they'll take with them. It's really beautiful. Like I would show you if I could. It's really great. So they'll have pattern blocks, dice, pencil, crayons, color pencils, student pack. We've created student packets for kids to follow the scope and sequence. Okay, you don't have to follow it, but that's printed out and it's in the bin. They have square tiles, Cuisinart rods, graph paper, whiteboards, whiteboard markers. It has everything they need. It's super, super awesome. I'm going to pause there. Are there any questions? Yes, there are. All right. Are there schedules on Schoology? So like I said, the PowerPoint will be on Schoology, and that has your schedules. And so those are that you could use that copy paste. It won't be like PDF. We'll save it as a PowerPoint so you can like manipulate it as see fit. And pre-post assessment for the year.
No, for the summer.
For the summer. Pre and post. Yes, there will be a pre and post assessment for the summer. And then let me look in the chat. Thank you, everybody. It's loading. Can teachers get student packets? Yeah, the student packet PDF will be in Schoology as well. So we'll talk about what's in Schoology actually right now. Oh, yeah. How can remote teachers also get a math kit for ourselves so we can use these materials for modeling? That's a great question. I don't have the answer to that, but I'm going to write that down so I don't forget that question. That's good. Can teachers? I believe that you will, but I can't 100% say that. So I want to find out. Can remote teachers also get materials? Yeah, that's a great point. I believe, like I said, my gut tells me is that that teachers will be getting those, but I want to make sure that 100%. I don't want to lie to you all. So let's see what else. So for in-person students, the materials will be in the classroom for them when they get here. Some site leads put the materials in their classrooms. Some site leads have not, and so you might have to bring them to your classroom. But they are in the buildings. So for every in-person school, all the materials are in buildings. If we are teaching in person, are we supposed to be using posting materials to Schoology Seesaw as well? No, that is only, and we'll talk about that in a moment. I would, for the in-person and for remote, really I see Seesaw as being a tool to be used as when kids are absent, or if they're going to be gone for a while, you could just assign them the work and they don't have to lose it. I think that's kind of the beauty of this last 2 years as we've grown flexible, so they don't feel there's no need for students to feel kind of left out. And I would add that remote IAs and tutors should also get those kits. Yeah. I will ask about that. Put a little note here. Teachers and IAs and tutors. Okay, I'll get back to that for you in a moment. If our class is a 4-5 split, what grade curriculum do you recommend using? I'll get to that, Nicholas. That's a great question. Okay, so again, Math for Love is designed to be student-centered. Focus on what your class needs. Repeat a lesson if needed, or jump ahead. Please be flexible. Sorry. I took the paper from Anna. Shout out to Anna, who is my teaching partner, who agreed to manage the chat and manage the recording. So thank you, Anna. You're the best. Okay, what if there are grade level splits? Look at that, Nicholas. It's like I set you up to ask that question. So many activities and games are used in multiple grades. So you will find that. Especially fourth, fifth, actually third, fourth, and fifth grade, many of the games are very similar and many of the activities are very similar. So I don't think that you'll have a hard time figuring out what to do. I think you'll be fine. You could, split students into small groups based on grade level or on ability, but really, I would err away from the side of that. Like really just let kids be in different grade level splits. Different groups within the classroom, because it's good for kids to hear a variety of different strategies from a variety of different levels, right? So I don't think you'll have trouble figuring out how to do that. So I'm going to move on for that. Okay. Okay. So where is this? So when you're on Schoology. And again, I'm going to try to go slow. And also this will be on the PowerPoint well, actually, I guess you wouldn't be able to get to Schoology if you don't have it. I'll put it. I'll put the. Yeah, I lost my ability to attach as well. I don't see it on here, which is really weird. But I promise that if we end this meeting and I'm able to do it, then I will. I will post a PowerPoint as again in there. So when you go to Schoology, you'll click on groups, and then you will click this, and then this drop-down menu will open. And then you will then go to this top right, My Groups, unless you already are part of the summer curriculum materials for Seattle schools. I saw a lot of you join the group this morning. So you should just click on the summer curriculum materials for Seattle schools. If you haven't done that yet, which is totally fine, you'll click on My Groups on the top right. Of course, Schoology has the smallest button for the most important thing because, of course. So My Groups. And then this will open up this kind of like on the left side, you'll see what groups you're already part of. What you'll do is join group. So you click on that. And then that'll take you to this. It says, give me an access code. This is the access code for Schoology. So I'll leave that in a moment. Anna is also going to type that, and she already did. She put the code in the chat. This is what you'll use to join the group. So if you want to take a moment right now to do that, you totally should. So I'm going to pause there for a moment. And again, I'm not going to stay on here, but I'm going to go over this one more time. So you go to your Schoology page, you'll click on groups. You'll go to this page, and then you'll click on My Groups on the top right. And then you'll go to join group. And again, please don't get it confused with courses. That code will not work in courses. It'll only work in groups. So make sure that you're going to groups. Okay. And I don't see any questions in the chat, which is great. So then once you get to this group, you'll join. And then of course, again, as much as I love Schoology, it's not very user friendly. So the most important thing is like super hidden. So you'll click on resources over on the left side, this little tiny thing over here. That's where all the materials are housed. So you'll go to resources on the left. Should I slow down? Am I going too fast? Good. Good. Okay. Thank you, Margarita. Appreciate it. Then this will open up these folders. So you'll see K5, SEL, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and so on. I'm going to use fourth grade as an example. So let's say we click on fourth grade. So when you click on fourth grade, you'll see these two folders, ELA grade 4 teacher resources and math grade 4 teacher resources. Of course, you'll go to math, click on that. And then you'll see this teacher curriculum materials folder. We just wanted to make the most folders for you to open as possible. So have fun with that. We'll open up teacher curriculum materials. And then this is what you'll see inside of that folder. So this is where all of the biggest thing. If it's a split, would you need to look at both folders then? Yes. So you have access to all of this. You have access to everything. So you should see K through 5. And every folder looks exactly the same. On the top, you'll see the Math for Love curriculum. And this is the actual curriculum that you'll use to kind of see the lessons, how it's guided. And then the fourth grade math teaching sequence, which is the scope and sequence that Berta and I created for you how to use the curriculum. The curriculum is actually made for 16 days, but because it's 19 and because Dan was taking family time, we had to adapt the curriculum. And so the teaching sequence has been stretched out so that there are 19 days of instruction. So if you want to do every single day, you should follow the teaching sequence. And these two documents, the curriculum and the teaching sequence, should be used together at the same time because the teaching sequence has notes of the curriculum. Sometimes the curriculum has a mistake or a worksheet doesn't quite fit the pattern blocks. And so please make sure you're looking at the sequence because we created separate documents that actually do work better for students. So I would say use a little bit of both. Then you also have access to the student packet. These are what your kids have inside of their bins. So you have that as well. Then you have all the 4th grade math seesaw links. And then at the bottom, we have created PowerPoints for the games that are in the curriculum. So if you want to use them, especially for the remote teachers, if you want to use these to teach the game and play the game with your students, which I'll model in a moment, you can use these PowerPoints. And it's just one file that has all the games that make sense to have a PowerPoint for. So not all the games are in here because some of the games, it's just better to have a conversation with the game, like Pico for Me Bagels or Salute. But for the other games, that it is helpful to have some sort of projection. We have created PowerPoints for you. So that is all there. So hopefully I answered that question about the split. Any questions about Schoology? Put those in the chat if you would like. But I don't, hopefully that was pretty straightforward. We try to make it as clear cut as possible. We'll go over these files in a moment. So I'll talk about the curriculum, the teaching sequence in a moment. Wait a little bit here. And I'm also, my hope is to be done early. I know it's really hot and I want you all to cool down. And so I'm going to try to finish as quickly as possible as well. But I don't see any questions. Do you see any questions? All right, great. Keep going. All right. So lesson structure and scope and sequence. So this is an example of what you'll see in the curriculum. And so if you have any parents who are like, what Common Core standards are you doing? Is this, some of you might be like, well, is this just like loosey-goosey? Like, what are we actually doing here? Every single lesson, every single activity has a Common Core standard tied to it. So that it is very much centered in Common Core. It's just very play-based, and I love it. I think that's why it's such a great curriculum, is it marries both so well. And so why they love Pico for Me Bagels, it'll teach you how to play. And then you'll also have an example kind of breakdown of what it might look like. This is a very short lesson, so I used it just so that it would fit on 2 slides. But the structure is pretty much the same for every single game and activity. And then you'll have some tips for the classroom on the bottom. So make sure to read through this because there's a lot of great tips in there, as well as with the scope and sequence, which is what I'll show you right now. So this is an example of the scope and sequence. So the opener is the first thing that you'll do, and it'll tell you that's a unit chat, and then it'll tell you what page in the curriculum it's actually in. So I would highly recommend, if you're able to print the scope and sequence, I would print it out. And then it tells you where the images are, then there's an activity, then there's the game, and then there's the closer. And again, it's really helpful to have the scope and sequence, because it does tell you kind of like, hey, you should look at this, or there's the activities here, but then also go to this page to make sure that you're really understanding this. So it's really helpful. We try to make it as clear as possible. And a couple things for you to kind of see on Schoology. Let me go back here. I want to show you this. This 4th grade math teaching sequence, the second document, will look something like this. The page numbers obviously refer to the grade level curriculum. So you go to page 98 and 99. That's where you'll find the broken calculator warm-up instructions. And then the next thing, if it lets me, there you go. Everything that has a hyperlink, so that's underlined and in blue, that will take you, if you click on it, will take you to a YouTube video of that activity or game. Not everything has been filmed. This especially applies to 3rd and 5th grade. I have some filming still to do this week. I believe we have 2 videos for 3rd grade to still film, and we have 2 videos for 5th grade, I think, to still film. But I think for the most part, every single thing in the first week has been filmed and it's done. And I'll talk about the purpose of the videos in a moment, but that's just for you to know. If you click on those, it'll take you to a YouTube video. One thing to note about the YouTube videos is some of them have been, like, it's a video from last year. So we did recycle a lot of the videos from last year, but we did something where if it opens up and if it's in the middle of the video, that's not by accident. It's so that we like snipped it in the actual game or activity, so that you don't actually need to do the rest of it. From Teachers Math and Focus Book. No, Courtney, are those pages from the Teachers Math and Focus Book? No, they are from the Math for Love curriculum. So I'll go back to this. So the Math for Love curriculum, grade 4, that's the top document. That's what these page numbers are referring to, is the curriculum. We're expected to post things on Seesaw with the expectation that students do it when they go home. For the in-person students, teachers especially, you know, if they're doing it in the classroom and you saw them do it, like there's no need for you to do that, right? What we thought for Seesaw for the remote teachers, I think you have a little bit of flexibility, but we felt like it's hard to do everything in front of a computer with a whole group. And so we created these activities so that kids can do them. And I think there's a level of accountability, right? So if kids want to do it in their packet, they do the activity, and then they could take a picture of it. So then they could also do it on Seesaw. But I think there's a level of accountability for kids to actually know, hey, they're actually doing it and you're able to interact with them. So I think that applies more for remote. Will my 5th graders be students who just finished 4th grade? No, your 5th graders will be 5th graders who just finished 5th grade. And same, yeah, 4th graders will be 4th graders who just finished 4th grade. Yes, Seesaw is for online students. I mean, again, you can use it, Jenny, you can use it for in-person for students who are absent. Or let's say you get to the end of the summer and there's still like 5 lessons that you didn't get to. You could just assign those to them and they could do them on their own time if they want. So that's another thing they can do. And then supplemental worksheets, I didn't mention this earlier. Make sure to look at these notes because, like I said, especially this game, actually, Don't Break the Bank fraction version. The worksheet that's in the curriculum doesn't quite work with the pattern blocks that are in their kits. So I actually had to change it a little bit. And so make sure you're looking at those notes because there are some important things in there for you to keep track of. All right. I know why I put that. Okay, here, lesson videos. I'll talk about the videos and their purpose. So for the in-person people, the videos, really, we want to make sure that you're enacting these lessons on your own. So we see the videos not being as critical for the in-person teachers because you're going to be actually teaching the games and playing the games and doing the activities with them in front of them. But you can use them as possible teacher PD. We made sure that these videos, that the videographers or the people that were filmed, they're asking the camera questions. So you might think, oh, this is a great question to ask at this point, or when should I do this? Or I read the directions and I'm super confused what this game is even. Watch the video and that will give you a sense of what the PD will look like. Double dose for students at home. If you feel like a kid might benefit from watching the video again, or somebody's like, I really love this game, I want to teach my parents, send them the video link and they could teach their parents, or they could watch it together at home and then learn how to play. Assigns to students that have been absent, like I mentioned before, and you can assign remaining lessons if you didn't get to everything in the summer. So let me see the questions here. Brittany. No, so yeah, that's like a different program, like the Bridge program. So there will be 5th graders who just finished 5th grade in some of your schools. And then there will be some 5th graders who will be going to like a middle school program, like a Bridge program. That's separate. But again, you should have everything. And if I'm wrong, you'll find out on day 1 whether you have 4th or 5th. But they have just finished 5th grade. So the 5th grade content is made with them having gone through 5th grade already. So that's that. I should already see this Math for Love scope and sequence available in my resource folder. Correct. Yes, correct, Riley. That's correct. Sarah, my 4th graders are just coming out of 4th grade, which is not what I expected. Oh, well, surprise. Remote. So the videos for remote teachers. So if you are 100% remote, same thing. It is possible teacher PD. So if you're confused about the directions or not sure how to play the game, watch the video and then it'll hopefully make it really clear. And then there are a few lessons where it actually might make more sense to use the video than to teach the lesson. My recommendation, if you do go that route, is you play the video, but then pause and engage with the student. So if the video asks the question of the kids, pause it there and then ask the kids, hey, what do you think? And then 2 or 3, right? So I think that would be a great thing to do. And then same thing as before, double dose for students at home. You can assign to students who've been absent, and you can assign remaining lessons if you didn't get to everything at the end of summer. So that's that. I did mention this earlier. There is going to be assessment tracking. So there is a pre and post assessment that you'll be giving on day 1 and on the last couple days. And that'll be something that your site coordinator will give to you. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Other than I would say make it a percentage. For the most part, I think 4th grade is the only one where this applies. The pre-assessment is made of 70 out of 70 points, and I think the post-assessment is out of 100. And that was Dan just didn't get a chance to finish the assessment, and like we said earlier, he's family time right now. And so I'll just turn it into a percentage and then you can still compare. But again, this is more site coordinator stuff. You'll still have to grade it. So you will be grading the pre and post assessment and then making sure that putting that in a document for your site coordinator to have access to that. All right. Okay. 11:06. Let's play a game. I think you'll be sitting for a while. So let's play a game. Get ready with your hand raise feature. So in a moment, I'm going to ask you to have your hand raised in a moment. So we're going to play Odd Pig Out, and this is a 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade game. So all 3 grade levels have this game in them. The point of the game is, and we're going to play a shorter version of this just because I don't want to spend too much time on this, but we're going to see which team gets to 150 first. All right. So how this game works, let's say, so I'm going to be the teacher and y'all are going to be my students, my awesome students. And I don't want to draw actually. Okay. So I'm going to go first to model this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to roll 2 dice. And if the product is even, then I can decide to keep rolling and keep adding on my points. But if my product is odd, then I lose my points, my turn ends, and if I didn't bank anything, my turn ends and lose everything. I could also, after my turn, decide, you know what, I don't want to risk it anymore. I'm going to save my points, I'm going to put it in the bank, and then that also does end my turn, okay? So I'm seeing there's some chat here. Let's see the questions. Richard. Richard, the assessments are in the student packets already. They're actually printed in the student packet. So they are inside of the bins. And they're also in the curriculum. So they're in the curriculum. They're, I believe, in 4th grade. It also has the rubrics in the curriculum. And so make sure to look through that. But all of that is ready for you as well. All right. Okay, so let's play this game. Where's my, oh, here it is. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to model this game, and this is how I've played this game with my kids in person with my 4th and 5th graders. So I love the dice roller on Google. On the PowerPoints, I've actually put the link for this on there, so you don't have to go find it. They have different sided dice down here in the bottom, which is fantastic. And when it's my students' turn, I actually call on somebody, and I have them tell me, hey, when do you want to roll? And then they say, go. And then I think there's a level of like, it seems kind of silly, but there's a level of, there was one student who would be like, she would say, okay, I need to wait a little bit. I need to pray and think about all the spirits and make sure that I get good luck. I get really into it. So make it silly. Make it silly. All right. So I'm going to go. I'm going to roll. These are 8-sided dice. Again, if the product is even, I can decide to keep my points or keep going. If it's odd, my turn ends. So this is live. I am not very good with the computers. I have to tell this to my students all the time. I have not rigged this. This is live. Here we go. 8 times 2, so that's 16. So I'm going to write that here. 8 times 2 is 16. Now, that's an even product. Now I could decide, do I keep going or do I save my points? Now, I'm a bit of a risk taker, so I'm going to roll again. Now, again, if my product is odd, I lose my 16 points and I lose everything that I haven't banked. So let's see. 7 times 6. Ooh, that's pretty lucky. Okay, 7 times 7 is 49, and one group less is 42. Okay, that's a pretty good number. I'm actually going to bank my points. And so I'm going to add my 16 and my 42. So that's 58. That ends my turn. So now I have 58 points, and you are now trying to beat me. So I'm going to go here. Raise a, and actually I'm going to enable microphones. So allow mic for attendees. Allow mics. Okay. Would anyone be willing to roll the dice for the attendees? Leah. All right. Tell me when to roll. Just say roll. And then, oh, and Leah, you will, when you roll, you will tell me the product of the two numbers.
Are you talking about me?
Yeah.
Okay. Roll.
6 times 1 is?
6.
All right. And is that even or odd?
That's even, so I want to keep going.
Okay, now, because you're playing as a team, you have to make a decision here, right? So everybody, there's 74 of you, okay? I have 58 points. I want you to raise a virtual thumbs up if you feel like we should go. If there's more than, what is it, 37, then we'll go again. So actually, sorry, do a hand raise. Raise your virtual hand if you would like to go again. And again, this is exactly how I play with my students. All right, so let's see. Do y'all want to go again? Do you see hands up? How many? 28. 31. Ooh, it's going up. 32. Oh man, it's going up. Oh, I see it now. I see it at 30. Okay, that's more than half. Okay, that's more than half. It's more than half. So we'll go again. All right. And obviously, I think it makes sense that you would go again. I am crushing you. No, I'm just kidding.
Can you go more than twice?
Yeah, you could go more than twice, right? So,
okay.
All right, let's have a different volunteer. Thank you, Leah. Would somebody else be willing to roll the dice again for all of y'all? And you can just, if you have a camera raised, you can just raise your hand because I think my Teams is being a little slow. Hannah, go ahead, Hannah. Tell me when to roll.
All right, you can roll.
Oh, sorry. Nope, I did it too early. Doesn't count.
Okay.
Doesn't count. Doesn't count. Nope, doesn't count.
Okay,
Do it again.
Let's redo.
Yep.
All right, you can roll in 3, 2, 1, roll.
Okay. Ooh.
Oh.
I'm sure you would like to get the other one, but I went too early. It's my fault. It's my fault. Okay. Okay. You could go again. So, but it's a risk, right? So if you get an odd number, that's a risk. So that's tricky. But you would only get 12 points at this point. So raise a hand if you want to go again. I could go a third time. I'm going to put my teacher hat on here. This is a very simple game, but as you can see, we're talking about equations, we're talking about products, we're talking about factors. You could bring a bunch of vocabulary and teach them, but it's kind of masked in this game that I'm sure some of you are like, oh, there's a little bit of risk and like excitement. But your kids sometimes don't even realize that they're doing some pretty heavy math here. So I think that's more than half. Let's go again. Different volunteer. Anybody else want to roll their dice? Roll the dice for the team. It's always interesting doing this whole group because there's some kids who like aren't risk takers, and then when they lose everything, they're like, I told you we shouldn't have gone.
Oh, just roll it. Go ahead, Ken.
Okay, Richard, go. All right, thank you. 6 times 8. 6 times 8. And Richard, what is 6 times 8?
48. It's the same number it was before.
Okay. So we have 58. Again, it's still your turn. So
now we'll bank it. We're beating you.
Do you want to? Well, let's see. So don't raise your hand if you don't want to go again. If you do want to go again, raise your hand. Some of you are risk takers, man. There's always like 2 or 3 kids who every time, no matter what.
Yeah, I'm already getting pressure not to go. You see.
7 of you, 8 of you still want to go. Hey, but you know what? I think it's definitely a little bit better. Somebody want to shout out what is 48 plus 6 plus 6?
60.
Yeah. Okay, so now you all are beating me by 2, but because you banked it, now that ends your turn. Now it's my turn. So now I'm gonna go. All right, here we go. Roll. 7 times 2. Hey, that's 14. I'll take that. And we're getting really lucky here. Okay, I'm gonna go again. We haven't gotten an odd product in a while. Here we go. 4 times 5 is 20. I said first to 150. I want to see if I can just close you all out. Here we go, one more time. 2 times 6. Man, kind of want to get an odd number. No, sorry, 2 times 6 is 12. I'm gonna go again. 4 times 6. Man, I'm getting really lucky here, guys. 4. Okay, I'm gonna pause the game there. You kind of get the idea of the game. It's pretty exciting. And again, this is a game that's 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And what I just did here with this game, you can do with the PowerPoints, right? I love using the draw feature on PowerPoint over here. And if you have a touchscreen, it's really I have a little like touchscreen pen that also works really well. It's a really great strategy to use, but just because of time, I want to make sure that we end early, and it's really hot, and we'll move on. So the seesaw activities, like I mentioned before, this would be really helpful for for remote teachers. Again, this is not. I think it does allow for a little bit of accountability. Excuse me, but every activity and game has a seesaw link. So the opener and closer do not. Those are also not filmed. It's just the activity and game. So the opener and closers will have to be done by you live. And for the most part, it's mostly just dialogue. There's a couple games, but it doesn't really require much from you. And your support resources. So tomorrow at 9 a.m., I will be here to answer any questions that you might have about any of this and kind of more detailed questions. Coaches are also available after tomorrow to answer questions, and I will show you who your coaches are. Again, all of these emails that I'm about to show you are going to be on this PowerPoint, and I'm going to put them on Schoology. I will also send this to your site leads so that they have it in case you can't find it on Schoology. But give me some time. It is 11:18. My guess is that I should be up there by like 2 or 3 p.m. this afternoon. So I'm going to try my best to make it as quickly as possible. And then you also have the grade level PowerPoints. Like I mentioned, all the games for each grade level are inside. There are in sequential order. So you'll just have to find it. You can copy and paste it to your own thing. Yes, tomorrow is optional, Jenny. It is just if you have questions, but it'd be great for you to come by and say hi. And then also, like I said, the lesson videos are a great resource for you all. If you're confused about the games or anything, watch the video. It's a great way for you to kind of get a sense of what the game should look like and sound like. All right, so your coaches are here on the screen. There's, I believe, 3 more slides, so don't freak out if you don't see your school. And again, you'll have an ELA coach and your summer coach. I myself will be the coach at BF Day and at Madrona Elementary. So those are my 2 schools. So, you know, I am a glutton for punishment and wanted to keep working even more over the summer. This wasn't enough. No. And then next slide. Again, all these emails are going to be on the PowerPoint, so you don't have to write them down unless you really want to, but we'll have that all up there. And then remote teachers, you have either Ms. Butler or Hannah Moffat. And Morgan Lemming will be kind of like your main contact person. There will be also ELA and math coaches assigned to you, but you should probably reach out to Morgan first, and then we'll try to help you out as much as possible as well. All right, that's the end of it. Look at that. We finished 25 minutes early. I promise I would try to finish early. But I do want to answer questions. Are there any questions that I have not answered yet? No. Okay. Let me look at the chat. I would start writing some stuff down if you have not yet, if you have questions. If you are good, you don't have any questions.
So yes, tomorrow's optional.
Yes, tomorrow is optional, yes. And yes, awesome about the recording. Yep, we'll put the link to the YouTube on Schoology. Everything will be there. It'll be pretty clear where it is. Yes. All right, cool. All right, y'all. Last thing is thank you to all of you. This could not be possible with any of you, and thank you for being here in this really hot day. Can you go over the assessment for remote teaching? It's the same as the in-person, right? So kids will have that assessment in their packets at home. So how do we get to the assessment? Yeah, the assessment I could show you if you. So here, let me go. I think I have a picture of it actually, of where it is. All right. So if you go here to student packet grade 4, the student assessment will be in there. And then also in the Math for Love curriculum, again, the scope and sequence will actually tell you what page number in the curriculum the post and pre-assessment are, including the rubric. So it's going to be in the curriculum and also in the student packet. So that's where that will be. And also, again, every single kid, remote and in-person students, will have that assessment printed out. It's already printed out and in the bin. It's in there. So they have it. You don't have to do anything. Do we have to give those assessments one-on-one or online? No, it's a written assessment. We don't have to worry about that. The only one that has an interview assessment is kindergarten, and it's a really short thing, but I'm not going to spend time with that because doesn't apply to us. They can, Maddie, they do have the option to do it online. So we did upload the assessment on Seesaw if they want. So if they really want to do it there, they can, but it's not on Schoology. We're solely restricted to use Seesaw. But again, they could do the assessment on their piece of paper and then take a picture of the assessment pages for you to look at and grade that way. So they just do it in their packet, then upload on Seesaw. Yeah, exactly. They could do that, or they can answer the questions on Seesaw as well. So they have a couple options, but they have it printed out. Yep.
Do we do that in class at some point, or are they?
Yeah. So the first day, the main activity is the pre-assessment.
Okay,
right?
great.
So
Thank you.
they'll have a couple games. You'll do an opener, but they will have dedicated time to work on the assessment. And if it takes them 2 days to do it, no worries, that's fine. But don't spend more than 2 days. It would be a terrible way to start the summer with a bunch of tests. So if they can't answer a question, that's okay. Just have them turn it in. Okay. All right. I'm going to stop the PowerPoint. And if you don't have any questions for me, you are free to go. But if you want to stay behind, I'll stay for a little bit and answer questions that you might have. But thank you, everybody. Y'all rock. This was fun. Thanks for playing the game with me.
Thanks, Ken. Nice seeing you all.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You too, Rick.
And if you have a question, just unmute yourself and just ask if you would like.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye. How's it going, Miss B? She left.
Kenneth, I have a quick question.
Yeah, of course.
Should I have, so I was a student teacher this past spring, so I don't have a district device. I have access to Schoology, but I can't see any of the Math for Love materials. Should I be able to see them, or do I need to put in a tech request?
And you're logged in to Schoology?
Yeah, I'm in Schoology. I have access to the summer math course, but I don't have any of the materials.
Okay. How about, just because there might be other questions right now, do you have time to come to office hours tomorrow?
Yeah, totally.
Perfect, because I could totally go over that with you tomorrow and see and problem solve with it, because I'll have you share your screen. I could walk you through and see if that works. And if worse comes to worse, Riley, I will just email you the PDF so that you have them.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Of course. Holly, you have a question? No? Okay, that's from before.
No, I was just saying in case anybody else had a question that was like kind of a relevant or interesting. Oh, I do actually. So,
Yeah,
you
go
know, the Math for Love, the teacher notebook, has it been updated, you know, for the in-person, or is it the one from 2018?
It has been updated. So it is. I mean, the games are pretty similar, but it has been updated a little bit, and I know that Dan worked on it a few months before the whole situation with his baby. But yes, it has been updated and everything. Yeah. So yes.
Okay, so
yes.
we'll receive new books then.
I don't know if actually teachers we've had them print them out, but you will have access to them as PDFs. You know, I would talk to your site coordinator to see if you would like to print those out. I printed it out for myself, and I did 2 pages per page, or you could even do 4 pages per page to kind of cut the count if you really like. But in order to save paper, we didn't print them out.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm asking, because I still have all of this stuff too, so I didn't want to waste anything. So if it was still the same,
yeah, I would
would
probably err on using the most updated one, because the scope and sequence ties to the most updated one that's on Schoology.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Maldonado. Nice to see you.
You're welcome. Nice to see you too. Anybody else? Y'all have questions, you can just shout them out. I think we're good. Oh man, that was awesome.
How do I stop recording?
It should be same button. If you go to the top, if you go to the 3 buttons, I think there should be an option that says stop recording.